All right, guys. Well, it is good to be back from Connecticut. My first trip up to, I guess that's New England technically, because New York is not New England, is it? Is New York New
I'm
England?
pretty sure it is.
It is New
It
England?
is.
Okay, well then I've been to New England before. So, yeah, it goes Mid-Atlantic then New England, I think. So,
You went all the way
anyhow.
across the Atlantic to England?
No.
Wow.
No, I did not. All right, so anyway, I'm back, and I'm glad to be back. I hope you guys made good progress last week. So the goal today is to, well, first off, I want to give you guys an assignment, okay? So we are going to be moving towards chess in the very near future.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got most of the groundwork laid here. So we're actually probably going to we'll create a new project from this project. So you'll keep the checkers project because you might want to play checkers at some point in the future. And then we're going to build the chess project. Okay, so your mission, whether you choose to accept it or not.
Is my computer going to explode after this?
No, but I might. So, but your assignment is to go find some chess pieces. Okay, not real chess pieces.
I have a bunch of chess pieces at home.
Yes. So.
Can I choose to not accept
No.
Why don't you say if you choose to?
it? Yeah.
No, he said if you choose to accept it or not, it's still your assignment.
So anyhow, to go find images of chess pieces. Okay, online, kind of like I've got the Go stones here that I'm using for checker pieces, but we'll need some decent chess pieces. Obviously, they don't have to be particularly amazing. You don't need to spend a ton of time on it.
What if we did Lord of the Rings chess?
Yes.
That would be cool.
So that was exactly where I was going with this. Is I'd love for you guys to find themed chess pieces. Where you could say, okay, I'm going to do Lord of the Rings chess. Okay, so who's the king? Probably Strider. I'm guessing. Or maybe you have different versions of Strider. Maybe Strider is the knight and Aragorn is the king. Right? Obviously same person, but different sort of instantiations of the same person. Okay? So it would be awesome to see different themed chess pieces. And Mr. Smith over there, should you and perhaps your dad as a combined project want to put together some really awesome Avengers chess pieces with villains on one side and Avengers on the other side, using some Photoshop action and making something pretty sweet. That'd be pretty cool because we would use that for the actual board that we're teaching with. So if he has time to work on that with you, that would be great. It'd be
We could have like the Avengers be one side, like white the Avengers, and the villains be black, or vice versa.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yes, yep. That the Avengers would be one side and the villains would be the other side. So.
Thank you for that.
How many villains are there?
Oh.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, did your dad like that?
I actually forgot to give it to. I left it at church last night.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, make sure he gets that.
Okay.
Yeah. Because that's that comic book is actually LJ did it, who was one of your dad's students.
Oh.
So, all right, cool beans. So that's your assignment for Thursday. So you got a few days to do some research. Well, that is one of your assignments for Thursday. We'll have so much more. I've been away, thinking of things, scheming, creating my machinations. All right, so yes.
What video were you on?
Huh?
Can I go to the bathroom?
What do you need? You've been in class for 7 minutes.
Exactly. I've been in other classes for 2 hours.
If you need to go to the bathroom,
She
please
has a point.
take care of that. I'd hate for you to have an accident. So it's
Video 13.
Okay.
all right.
You can go to the bathroom, you just can't go to the bathroom.
With
If that makes sense.
Nope.
No.
I mean, you do have to
No.
go
Yeah,
to the
all right.
bathroom to go.
Back to class. back to class.
This is all being recorded.
Did you guys? Yeah, your parents get to listen to all of this.
If they choose to.
Should they choose to?
If they find it.
Right.
If they choose to accept it.
If they choose to accept it. Did you guys get? I remember last class we were able to remove pieces from the board like so. Okay, but they are going down to this corner here, which is a little weird, and the other one is going up to that corner. So did you guys figure out how to get them to center on the board? Yeah? Did everybody get that figured out?
No,
Some people did?
I'm not on the video.
Okay. So that was that's something we can work on a little bit today. So interesting. Let's see how this reacts when we make it smaller. Okay. Yep. All right. So the first thing that we want, since the board is centered, we need to center these pieces and then put them in there. And then we'd probably like for that piece for them to kind of all fit on the page. That'd be nice. Okay, so let's fiddle with that a little bit today, and then we will. That'll probably be about all we'll get accomplished. So, with that said, let me open up Visual Studio Code where I've got my other work. All right. Wonder. And so one really nice tool for when you're doing front-end development is a tool called Pesticide, which is it's a Chrome extension that you can add. And the reason they call it Pesticide is it helps you get rid of bugs in your code. But if you just click it, turns on, and you'll notice it highlights the edges of all of my divs, okay, which is kind of cool, okay. So I can see that checker, right? This is the checker element. Remember, every element is square, right? The checker itself is not actually circle, okay. So there's the checker element, and then here's the cell element that checker is inside of, okay. And I can see the same thing up here, and then all through I have my whole board, right? Inside my board, I've got a margin. I've got some padding inside the board, and then I've got all these cells that are just stacked in there together. Okay, so that is a very handy tool, and it helps you to understand sometimes what's going on in your code. So I wanted to point that out. And you can turn it off and on just that easy. All right, so let's see what we can do about making this div up here a little bit bigger and maybe centered. So if I take a look at this div right here, here's out of play black. Okay. First off, I'd like to make sure that this stays on the board, right? So that the screen doesn't get so short that I can't show the out of play areas. Okay, so that's going to be an important piece for me as well. All right, first off, let's center this. Now we could try just saying text align center, okay, which doesn't seem to have the effect that we're looking for moving that checker. Yeah, that checker number 14. Is that a checker or is that a div? Or is that a cell?
Both.
It's interesting. Oh no, I gave out of, this is before, that's right, I told you guys what to do. But I didn't actually do it. We ran out of time at the end of class. So out of play, the whole div out of play has the height and width of a cell, of a single cell. Okay, and so that was the next thing that we were going to do. We were going to add in cells around each of these pieces when we put them into the out of play area. So jumping over to WebStorm, where when we remove a cell, or actually when we render a checker that's out of play, I'll actually really quick, let me go ahead and make a commit here so we can keep track of where we were last Friday or Friday before last, Thursday before last. Just waiting for that app to come up. Come on, source tree. It's bouncing. Bounce faster. Okay. Maybe we'll just commit through IntelliJ. So that was. Anybody got the date for a week ago Thursday?
Last Thursday or like 10 days ago?
Fourth.
What's that? The 4th?
4th.
Added out of play. All right. All right, so I'm just committing that, so I got basically a save point, so that I can go back to, and also so I can kind of tag it in case you guys are trying to figure out when you're watching a video where the code was. So, all right, now that's all committed, and let's go into checkers. So when I render a checker that is out of play, which is what I'm doing right here, okay. I actually need to put a cell around that checker. Okay, makes perfect sense. Okay, so when let me go to the board where I actually render a cell, board.js. Okay, and adding a cell to the board is done here. And what do we know about the cells that I'm going to be putting checkers into? Anybody? Bueller? Well, I have two choices of the type of cell I can render. I can render this one, which is a what cell, and this one, which is a what cell?
Black and white cells.
Black and white. What do we know about all of the cells that checkers will be put into? They're all black cells. So I can just grab this code here for making a black cell. Okay, go back to my checker.js, and when I render this, okay, I need to render that other cell around there. So I'm just going to kind of paste it in here so I can kind of work with it, because I need this first bit to be in front. Out of play. Oh, here it is, render checker. So I'll render all of that. And I'll render this. Then I'll close the div. It's kind of a long string. Okay, so let's take a look at what I just did. Make it a little bigger here. Okay, so basically I took that cell that I had, and I took the checker right here. Here's where I render the checker here inside these two brackets. Okay, what I had was just this bit that was getting appended. Okay, but now I put the cell around that bit. That makes sense? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So now I do have these things here, row number and cell number, which I don't I'm not going to necessarily know because they actually don't make sense because it's not actually a cell, or it's not a real cell, right? And it doesn't have a row number or a cell number. That makes sense? So in fact, it might even, I don't know that I'm ever going to need to grab this by ID, so I'll just remove the ID altogether. Okay, it is a cell. In this case, I'm saying that it's black. I'm not sure we actually want it to be black because black will give it that background. So maybe we just say that, keep it super simple, see what happens. And then if I go to my how to play, I need to remove those two, right? And let's refresh the page. I forgot I'm still rendering something. All right, so, oh, well, that's interesting.
Goodbye.
That was not what I expected. Clearly, I'm going to guess there was an error there. Okay, let's take a look at our console. Yes. Okay. Row num is not defined right here. Okay, so obviously we have a cut and paste error. Let's go take a look in checkers, line 43. There it is. Oh, silly. I pasted that in there just to work with it and then forgot it. All right. So let's, did I save that? So if I check this, click it again, okay. Hey, here you go, popped up and it aligned center. Interestingly, I don't know why it aligned center, but it did. It's always nice when things work, even when you're not expecting them to work. Let's go find out why that's centered. So we have this cell here. How to play. Oh, the body itself has text align center on it, so that's inherited. So the out of play area inherits, like each div inherits its style from the div around it. Okay, and so the body, which is the whole page, let me make this down at the bottom. The whole page is text align center, right? That's why the board's in the middle of the page, right? And so because of that, and the out of play area is on the page, it just inherited what its parents, its parents' alignment style. So that's already working, which is kind of nice. So the next thing that we need to do, that I'd like to do, is I don't like the fact that that guy's off the page right now, right? So it would be nice if I've got a widescreen monitor or something like that for those to show up on the page. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to rethink how big our cells are, okay, because the cells are what change the size of the page. So if I go over here to actually, let me inspect this, kind of fiddle with it. The cell itself. So here's our cell. Okay, if I change this, it's going to kind of change it for every single cell, right? Because I'm changing the style dot cell. Okay, so let's go to say 9vmin. Okay, 9vmin. Obviously, we're getting a little squished here, but let's put one of those off the board too. Okay, so not quite what we need. So go back to the cell. Let's go to 8vmin. So 8vmin gets everything on the page. Okay, so 8% of the vertical minimum. Okay, so or the minimum viewpoint port, and then if we just take this, we'll get square again. Okay, so now everything shows up on the page regardless of how things are oriented like this. It's all in a phone. Let me move that over here.
Mobile chat. Good.
Okay. Take it off a phone. Right. Okay. Get rid of this. All right. So the view now responds to what I'm looking for. Okay. And if I start removing these guys, they're removing nice and neat, which is kind of cool.
Are the checkers hiring snipers to get rid of the other checkers?
What's that?
Are the checkers hiring snipers to get rid of the other checkers?
I guess so.
You know, it's pretty far range from them to be.
It is. It's a long range. So that's cool, though. I mean, that looks pretty nice. Okay, and I would say at this point we have a fairly functional checkers game. Anything you guys feel like we need to add or edit?
Bacon.
You could add like king checkers.
That would be good. Bacon on one side and eggs on the other. King checkers, yeah, king checkers would be good. To
Or
be
all the checkers can be eggs, but then when they come to a king, they become bacon. Yeah.
Yeah. If we changed it, if we could change a checker to king it. Any idea what the how you would tell it to do that?
Well, you'd have to like
Change the class
yeah, and you'd have to like add stuff in CC
and add a
and like
function
the
to-
CSS to like so that it can change to a king and like add in an image or something to like
Mm-hmm.
of what the king will look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, one thing we'll definitely have to do is first let's get king icon. See if we can just grab a simple icon that we can throw on here.
Are you sure you won't damage it if you just throw it on?
I'm not sure. Because that cell, I'm pretty sure is, yeah, that'll work. It's really simple. Is it transparent? Pretty sure those stones are background images. Yay, good. Yeah, that's transparent. All right, so I can grab this and just drop it on there. I don't think we have icon fonts installed. But that might actually be the easiest thing, an icon font. Because then we could change the color of it on the fly. Yeah, let's do that. All right. So, font awesome.
The awesomest fonts in the world. Happy Valley.
Happy Valley.
That's what it says. But,
So I could just drop that on there. And that would work for white, but I need a white one for, or I could just put gold on there. Keep it super simple. But I'll show you guys Font Awesome because there's that's definitely, I mean, we did it earlier with our websites. I'm not sure why the internet is so slow today.
Maybe it's grumpy, didn't get enough sleep.
Yeah. It's not really
the goodness,
snappy.
the internet never gets any sleep.
Mm.
So let me explain it.
Always awake. All right. That looks pretty much square. And it's transparent. It is good. That's going to be the short-term fix. Save image as crown 512. Sure. Let's go back over here. We'll fiddle with Font Awesome a little bit later. Drag this guy over here. I think I just dragged my whole downloads folder. Whoops.
Well, some of them were going over to the checker project, and the rest of the things in download folder were both jealous that they were being left out. So we
Right.
just decided to pack up and leave.
Drag that to images. All right, so there's my crown.
You are king.
And I think I'm just
Can you
going to
please share your wishes?
share my wishes.
Your riches.
Oh, my riches. That's just going to be crown. All right. So rename that. All right, so let's go and just add that to one of our checkers for refresh this, inspect. All right, so inside this div,
Just leave it.
we'll edit this as HTML. Okay, if we simply drop an image tag, image source equals, and it's going to be images slash, if I'm remembering correctly, crown.png, and width equals 1%. Here we go. All right, obviously a little ugly, okay, but it,
Sure.
but on the, at the prototype level, right? Like it at least shows that yes, we can drop an image on top of these. A small icon is probably going to be more attractive, but we'll fiddle with this one for now. Like I said, using icon fonts is probably going to work the best because then you'll be able to put a black crown on top of the white checkers and a white crown on top of the black checkers, but it will be the exact same style. You won't have to find an image, or you won't have to go into Photoshop and edit those images. But you could also do that. That's perfectly valid. Is to go find an image of a crown that you like, and modify it. Or if you already had a checker that had a crown on it, that would work
I just
too.
realized that this is a image of a crown on top of an image of a checker, on top of an image of a cell, on top of an image of a table. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like an image on an image on an image.
There's
on
a
an image.
lot of things going on there. Yep. So, but let's go into let's go into rendering our cells and think of how we would render a king checker. Okay, where do we need to keep track of which checker is a king?
In its class. Is that what?
No. The class won't set what's in the foreground of the image. Besides,
So
we're moving these checkers around, right? So where do we track everything to do with our checkers?
in the CSS.
No.
That's where the images are.
In the what?
The index thingamajigger.
The index thingamajigger. Help me understand. Which file is it in?
In the checkers JS,
Okay. And
maybe.
does it have a name in checkers.js?
Probably, but I don't remember.
You could go look in checkers.js. It might help you. Or you could tell me to go up or down. So like this function is named render checkers. It's probably not there, right? Any idea where we might be storing all the data about our checkers? Jesse?
Good luck.
Zoe?
No, I'd like to know.
You'd like to know. You know what? I appreciate your desire for input. I'll give you guys a hint. It's on the screen right now.
Is it the just bar checkers?
Yeah, it's the checkers variable, right? The array of checkers. This thing stores where all our checkers are at any point. Okay, and that's important, guys. Let me go over here to the console. Let me clear everything I got, and let me just type checkers, right? I hit enter, and I see this. I see all this data about all these checkers, where they happen to be, right? Now let me move this checker from here to here. I get a bunch of output. Okay, but let me clear that out and just type checkers, and you'll see that one of the checkers, this one here, right, has moved to 4-5, right? It's not following the pattern like all the rest of them, okay? And if I, but when I move those checkers, okay, so I select this one and I'm going to select here, right? And you'll see that first checker has moved to 5-2, okay? Interestingly, if I type checkers, say 2, this means the third checker dot color gets black. Render checkers. Actually, let me clear the board. I think. Right? When I change, what's on the screen is temporary. That's what you have to remember. In fact, when you think about screens in general, what's on the screen is almost always temporary. A great example is what's on your TV screen, right? You take a DVD, I know that's old school, Blu-ray, right? And you put it in to the Blu-ray player, right? And then on the screen you see images of Lord of the Rings or Avengers or, whatever, okay? But the recording, right? The permanent representation of those images is not stored on the screen. The screen, what's on the screen is transient. You guys get that, right? Like if I turn this, right? Same thing. What's on the screen here is transient. What's real, if you want to call it real, or at least more real, more persistent, is this data structure that's in the background. Okay? That makes sense? So I go into that data structure and I change something and then re-render the checkers. It's like your screen, your screen has a refresh rate when you're watching, Veggie Tales, and so that image only stays up there for a second. And so render checkers is like refreshing the screen. That makes sense? All right. So I changed something about that. So if I want to change something, if I want to store where the, which checker I just made a king, it makes sense that I store it right here in this data structure. Okay, in this list of checkers. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Cool beans. So I can see that Jesse is doing something cool and fun, but it's probably unrelated to this class. That's okay. You're learning?
Yes.
And you're learning computer programming? Okay. Well, knock yourself out. You can watch the video later if you want. All right. So in here we would probably have another value on each checker that would just be like is king. All right. So which is relatively easy to do. I can go ahead and checkers 2, but let me add a value to that. Is king gets true. All right, now let's take a look at our checkers. So you'll notice this one, checker number 2, not only is the oddball black checker up there, but I've said that he's a king checker. Okay. Now, render checker doesn't know anything. Like it's not looking for is king, so that's not going to make any difference. Okay. But we'll go ahead and add that into render checker here in a minute. Okay. But that's the first thing that we'll need to do is we'll need to figure out a way that we can make a checker a king. Okay? So we'll add that. But what do we think we need to do to actually make it a king? Like, to remove it from the board, I'm not saying how to do it. I'm saying, like, what action should the user take? To remove a checker from the board, I double click on it, right? To move a checker, I click on it, then I click on the space where I want it to be.
Maybe like bring it back on the board after it comes out, or click on it like 3 times or something.
Click on it 3 times. Now, if I click on a checker 3 times, it's going to move from the board, and then I'll just be clicking on the cell.
Well, in the current version of the JavaScript files,
Yeah.
and the CSS and stuff, yes. But if you changed it, then you could.
Well, there's click listeners. So you click and then you click, So clicking on it 3 times would mean I clicked on it, then I clicked on it again while it was selected. But I have to remember that I've clicked on it twice. Yes.
Could you make a function to like tell it that if it's a black checker going to the first row or a white checker going to the 8th row to like, I don't know, change the class or something?
That's
Yeah.
a good idea.
Yeah, we could add that. Now the plus side of that is it is easier, right? If I'm rendering a black checker in the first row or a white checker in the black row, I should change its value and say this is a king checker. That makes sense. And there's not really a way to, there's not a way for the user to change that, which is kind of good, and it enforces some of the rules. One of the things about checkers, though, is the only thing we've really enforced is that you can only move to black cells, right? And you can't move on top of another checker, okay? But other than that, I mean, you can do pretty much some old craziness, okay? But I like that because I can't think of a better user action that would let me know that this ought to be, So I think that it'll actually be the most expeditious way to do this would be to say, if I'm rendering a checker in this, in the other team's first row, then I should mark it as a king checker. So let's give that a whirl.
You
So
should make sure that it stays a king checker after.
yes, we do want to make sure it stays a king checker too. All right, so it would be in the place either when I'm moving a checker or when I'm rendering the checkers. Either one, probably move, because then we don't have to change it every single time. So if I go to, we're on the board, board.js is where we have move selected checker here. Here we can check, let's see, if I have a selected checker, then I move the checker and then I render it. Here I've got the row and I think we figured out an easier way to do that, but we'll just leave that bit alone for now. Now let's get the selected checkers color, right? So all right, let's make sure that we are working in the right spot. So if I select this, it should say checker I'm moving is black. Okay? So cool beans. So that seems to be working. So and we know the row move checker here, black cell this. Black cell attribute ID, and then we split that into ID parts. Oh, And then okay, move that checker to here. We don't care where the checker is. All right, so if
I believe in you. I believe in us.
so if the selected checker is black, right? And the row okay, and I just moved it to so this at this point we've already changed its row value, right? You guys see that up here on line 62 and 63? We've already changed its row. So if the row for the selected checker, so it's black and the row is 1, then
I'm moving a black chair.
a black chair, yes,
Do the white home.
to the white home row. All right, so
So,
all right, so let's see if that works.
It's walking by.
Actually, what they need.
So I move that here. All right, so I see that I
I
moved
got racist.
a black checker there. I can see I moved a white checker there. So let me select this. We look down at the bottom here, and it said I'm moving a black checker. But it doesn't tell me that I'm moving a black checker to the white home row, which is sad. Ah, triple equals. Good old triple equals. Triple equals is strict equality.
Even more equal.
Yeah. So those didn't equal. I'll show you why they didn't equal. Because this was a string. But if I do that and refresh it, that triple equals is strict equality. It's not the like truthy and falsy they call it. There, I'm moving a black checker to the white home row. Okay, that works because I said I'm moving it to the value is string 1. Okay, if I wanted to, I could go with truthy and falsy. Okay, which is a little bit looser than true and false, but sometimes it's nice. So if we look back while that's refreshing, I've changed this back to the number 1, right? So I'll move that, move this, and it says it's moving it to the white home row, even though I can look and the value of that black cell, or the black row, is string 1, right? And I was checking against number 1. But because I use double equals, it's like, oh, that's equal enough. You know? Meh. So, all right. Makes sense? Good lesson in equality operators right there. All right, so now we know that we're moving a black checker to the white home row. So if that's the case, then we should probably mark it as a king checker. Right, so selected checker. That is king gets true. All right, refresh that. All right, let's move this guy out of the way. Move this guy over there.
It's fresh again.
There we go. Is king, it's true. Now, if we move him around, though, it continues to stay true. Why? Because we put it in that list. Okay, that list which is persistent as long as this page is alive. The board changes every time, but that list doesn't change. Now, if we move this guy up there, suddenly now I have 2 king checkers. Okay? And I have 3 king checkers. Okay? And they stay. So once I've marked them as king, they stay king. Okay? So then we just need to say in our render checker method, here, if I'm rendering a checker, there it is, and it's a king, I need to put that image in there. Okay? So let me just pop this down. Sometimes it's nice to just do these on multiple lines. And that's the sweet thing about these JavaScript templates. All right, so let me tab in here. Image source equals images slash crown. And the style width equals, we'll call it 80%. And height is 80%. That should be good. So I just changed. Oh, snap. Whoops. So I added that for all of them. May not have been what I was looking for. We probably need to do.
So many
Game
kings.
over.
Probably want to change that to say if it's a king checker, then we want all this stuff. If not, we don't want all this stuff. So let's do this. If
You know what was weird? That's probably like the only time when the JavaScript didn't work and I expected it not to work.
yeah,
Hmm.
if checkers I dot is king, then I want to do all this stuff. Otherwise, else, I want to do I want to return what we had before, which didn't have that in there. All right, so if it's king, I return this guy with the image in it, and then if not, I return what I had before. All right, so now let's try this again. Hey, pretty cool, huh? I'm breaking the layout, but now I can move that guy around, and he stays a king checker. Right? So we got some layout stuff and some things like that we got to work on. Maybe we can work on those on Thursday, okay? But we now have the ability to change the piece, a piece type, right? That will probably be important when we get to chess, right? Piece types, maybe.
When you're promoting pawns, yeah.
When you're promoting a pawn, or just in general, like, is this piece a pawn or queen? Big difference,
Yeah.
right?
Either tonight.
It's a knight, a knight, right?
Or maybe it's a rook or a bishop.
Yeah. So, okay. All right, peeps. Have a great week. Don't forget,
Yeah.
go
Have a good day.
do what I just did here. Okay, get it working for both black and white pieces. Okay, if your layout's a little broken, that's fine. It just needs to at least be persistent. Okay, we'll fix the layout on Thursday. So you need to just be able to move them around. So get that working for black and white pieces, and start doing the research to find chess pieces. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Could you make it so that it changes the class and just change the image in the CSS? Because I already have a king checker image.
Probably. Yeah. Yep. You could definitely do that. That would absolutely work. So you could just check to see if it's king, and then if it is, you just add the is king, or add a whatever different class. Yep, that would work. Cool. All right, guys,
Cool beans.
go do good things.
See ya.
See y'all on Thursday.
Are you allowed to do like average things?
You should do some average things too. Yeah. Try to do
Like you should
a minimal number of bad things.
I think I'm on that.
sleep and stuff.